Talking about Xifeng is really something. She's always eager to take charge and show off her skills. Even though she runs the household well, she hasn't dealt with big events like weddings and funerals, so she's worried that people might not respect her. She's been secretly hoping for something like this to happen, and now that she sees Jia Lian acting this way, she's already thrilled inside, but she doesn't want to say it out loud. She first saw Lady Wang's disapproval, and then heard Jia Lian speaking so sincerely that Lady Wang started to show signs of agreement. She had been watching the situation all along, so she said to Lady Wang, "If Big Brother is so sincere, then Madam should agree." Lady Wang quietly asked, "Are you up for it? Can you handle it?" Xifeng replied, "What can't I handle? Big Brother has already taken care of the external matters, and I just need to manage the internal affairs. If there's anything I don't know, I can just ask Madam." Seeing logic in her words, Lady Wang stayed silent. When Jia Lian saw that Xifeng agreed, he smiled and said, "There's no need to worry too much. I know my younger sister will work hard and I'll pay my respects to her here now, and after everything is done, I'll go to the mansion to express my gratitude." With that, he bowed. Xifeng quickly returned the gesture, and Baoyu, who was waiting on the side, couldn't wait any longer. He took the official order and handed it to Xifeng. What does it mean to hand over the official order? In a wealthy household like this, you often need to collect supplies, right? So, when you need to collect items from the warehouse or money from the finance department, you need an official order token. If the token is in order, then you can collect the item. This means that the authority has been handed over to her. Okay, let's see how Wang Xifeng handles things. Lady Wang and Lady Xing were getting ready to leave, and Lady Wang asked Xifeng, "How will you carry on today?" Xifeng replied, "Madam, please go back first. I need to figure things out before I can leave." How did she figure things out? She went to a small 3-room building and sat down alone, clearing her mind to think. What was she thinking about? She was thinking about the problems at Ning Palace. It's not like she was going to take immediate action, right? She identified a total of 5 problems. The first was that people come and go and the loss of items, which today would be a lack of security measures. The second was the lack of specifically assigned responsibilities and passing the buck at the last minute, which today would be the absence of an organization structure. The third was excessive spending and misuse of funds, which today would be the lack of financial control. The fourth was the equal treatment of people, regardless of their efforts, which today would be the absence of a fair reward system. The fifth was the indulgence of family members, where those with influence did not follow the rules, and those without influence cannot make progress. You see, despite the many servants in the Jia family, some have status as hereditary servants, known as those with influence, and they naturally do not follow the rules. As for those without such status, they do not strive for improvement. In today's terms, this means that within Ning Palace, power takes precedence over rules. She calmed herself down and exhibited the demeanor of a great general. First, she thoroughly pondered the matter from its fundamental aspects and identified 5 inherent flaws within the Ning Palace, and these flaws have been in place for a long time. Later, someone reading Dream of the Red Chamber got to this part and left a note. This person was also from the Qing dynasty and said, "I wish I had read this book 10 years ago." The person who wrote this note must have come from a big family and had the same 5 problems. Later, I thought about it again. During the planned economy era in China, state-owned companies ended up having all these 5 problems after a while, and then they started setting up management systems for the companies, right? At first, there was nothing. So, what does Dream of the Red Chamber show? Xifeng's management philosophy. She understood these 5 big problems clearly, and then she could start getting things done under her. The next day, Feng Jie showed up bright and early. Remember when Jia Lian told her, "You handle the stuff at Ning household. You might as well move in here. I've got a place all set up for you." Feng Jie was like, "I can't stay away from there. I'll just come over every day." Man, that's something. She's running both Ning and Rong households, so she really put in the work. In the 14th chapter, it talks about how she gets things done. First, she got a list of all the servants at Ning Palace and told Kai Ming to make a little book, and then she sent out an announcement about promoting the daughter-in-law. That's from the 2nd paragraph of the 14th chapter. She also checked the family register and told everyone to gather the next morning to hear her instructions. Then she headed back home for the day. When did she show up the next day? At around 6:30 in the morning, that's when she arrived, bright and early. She rounded up all the ladies and daughters-in-law at Ning Palace, calling out each of their names. You can find this part in the 14th chapter. First off, she had a chat with the daughters-in-law from the main family, who are basically the big shots in the household, like the top managers at Ning Palace nowadays. She started off by saying, "You're the ones in charge, right? Since it's been handed over to me, I won't put up with any complaints from you. I might not be as lenient as your mistress, but from now on, things will be done my way. If anyone messes up, I won't care who's got a good reputation or not, everyone's getting treated the same." Then she told Kai Ming to read out the list of names and call each person in, to see how many there were, and then she got down to setting up a system of responsibilities for each position. So, we've got this group of 20 folks, split into 2 shifts of 10 each. Their main gig is to serve tea to the guests all day, and they've each got their specific tasks lined out. Then, we've got another 20, also in 2 shifts, in charge of serving meals to the main family's relatives. They don't have any other duties besides that. Now, those 40 folk are further divided into 2 shifts, and their job is to handle things like lighting incense, rearranging the altar, setting up meals and tea, and coming together to mourn when visitors pay their respects. They won't need to worry about anything else. The 4 folks running the tea room will be keeping track of all the cups, saucers, and tea sets. If anything goes missing, they'll be held responsible and have to make up for the loss. The same goes for the 4 in charge of the dining utensils. Then, we've got 8 people handling the sacrificial offerings and another 8 taking care of the lamps, candles, and paper offerings. I will provide supplies to these 8, and they'll divvy them out following my instructions. As for the 30 others, they'll take turns watching over the place and making sure the fire safety measures are on point. The rest of the crew will be assigned specific areas to manage, and they'll be responsible if anything goes missing or gets damaged, be it furniture, antiques, or even little things like spittoons and brooms. The daughters-in-law from the main family will be in charge of doing daily inspections, reporting any slacking off, gambling, drinking, or arguing. If they notice any favoritism, they're to let me know ASAP. From now on, any issues should be reported to the right people. Those close to me will have their own schedules and need to be right on time. Whether it's a big thing or a small thing, there's a specific time for everything. You all have clocks in your rooms. I'll ring the bell at 6:30 in the morning, have breakfast at 9 o'clock, and handle any matters needing my attention at 12 o'clock. The time for burning the evening offerings will be at 5 o'clock, and that's when I'll inspect everything. I'll hand over the keys to those on night duty and be back at 6:30 the next morning. I know it's been a tough few days for everyone, but once the work's done, your master will make sure to show his appreciation. So, this is how we're going to organize everything and divvy up responsibilities. Alright, so we've got everything set up, everyone knows their role, and if anything goes missing, there will be consequences. That's what I call running a tight ship. But there's still one thing missing: what happens if someone messes up? Honestly, I'm kind of hoping someone does, because then I can really lay down the law. And wouldn't you know it, the very next day, it happened. Someone showed up late for their shift. We'll skip ahead a bit and get to the good part. After a few more paragraphs, Feng Jie, having been served tea by her servant, Lai Wang's wife, freshened up, checked out the folks in the clan, then made her way from Ning Palace to Ning Palace. After doing a head count, everyone was there, except for one person who was supposed to welcome the guests. A message was sent to that person, who showed up in a panic. Feng Jie smirked. I knew someone would mess up, and of course, it's you. You think you're too important to listen to me. The person quickly explained, I'm always early, but today I woke up a bit too early, then fell back asleep and overslept. Please forgive me this time, ma'am. Just then, Wang Xifeng's wife from Ning Palace popped in. Dream of the Red Chamber has a cool way of writing. It interrupts the story at key moments, throws in an incident, and then goes back to the main point. The woman who showed up was Wang Xifeng's wife from Ning Palace. After a quick chat, the Ning Palace crew left. The story went back to the earlier incident. Let's skip ahead a bit and then we see Feng Jie saying, if she oversleeps again tomorrow, or if I do, we'll be short-staffed again. I was going to let you off. But if I am lenient the first time, it'll be hard to manage next time. It's better to set an example now. With a serious look, she ordered, take her out and give her 20 lashes. At the same time, she also cut the monthly allowance of silver and rice. Besides the lashes, she also reduced her monthly allowance. When the others heard this and saw Feng Jie's serious expression, they knew she was mad and didn't dare to slack off. They quickly took the person away and issued the decree. The person had no choice and was dragged out to get 20 lashes, and then came back to say thank you. Feng Jie went on, if there's another mistake tomorrow, it'll be 40 lashes, and 60 the day after. If anyone wants to be punished, just make a mistake. Then she said, you can all leave now. This is the perfect example of killing the chicken to scare the monkey, right? She took advantage of the situation. From the 13th to the 16th chapter, the real star of the show is Wang Xifeng. She really shows off her skills and power through managing the Ning Palace. Meanwhile, her husband happened to be away. Why? Because Lin Ruhai, Lin Daiyu's father, got seriously ill. When the Jia family got the news, Grandma Jia sent Jia Lian to go with Lin Daiyu to Suzhou to see her father. But when they got there, they found out he had already passed away. After that, Jia Lian helped Lin Daiyu with the funeral stuff, so they ended up staying away for a long time. Xifeng and Jia Lian had a pretty good relationship. After a busy day, Xifeng would lie in bed and think about her husband, trying to figure out where he might be at that moment. Finally, Jia Lian came back. When he did, Xifeng got drinks ready to welcome him, finding the time despite being busy. She was super busy and then said a bunch of stuff like, I've cleaned up for you, and welcomed you, please accept it. It's pretty interesting the way they put it in the old days. After they sat down and had a drink, Jia Lian asked Xifeng how things had been at home while he was away. Xifeng then started talking, saying, I really didn't want to do it, you know. But Lady Wang insisted. I had to reluctantly go along with it. I didn't dare say or do anything without her permission. She's not an easy person to deal with, you know. This is from the 16th chapter. In the middle part, after Jia Lian returned home and met everyone, he went back to his room. It happened to be a busy time for Xifeng, with no leisure at all. When she saw Jia Lian coming from afar, she had to make time to receive him. Inside and outside the room, she greeted him with a lot of polite words, saying that she was delighted that he had returned and inquired if he had a hard journey. Upon hearing the news of his returning home, and she had prepared wine to help him dust off. And then she inquired if he was satisfied with her offering. She was quite cultured, speaking in such a refined manner. Jia Lian laughed and said, "I am overwhelmed, you are too kind. Thank you very much." Then the two of them sat down to drink, and Jia Lian asked about the situation at home, thanking Xifeng for her hard work. Xifeng said, "I can't really handle these things. I'm not very knowledgeable, not very articulate, and too straightforward. If someone strikes me with a stick, I'll take it for a pin. I'm too soft-hearted, a few kind words and I'm filled with compassion. Plus, I haven't experienced big events, I'm timid. If the lady is a little uneasy, I can't sleep at all." That's how she described herself. "I've refused the job a few times, but the lady won't take no for an answer. She even says I'm seeking pleasure and not willing to learn, not realizing I'm sweating bullets. I don't dare say too much or take a single step. You know, none of the housekeepers in our family are easy to deal with. If you make a mistake, they'll mock and tease you. If you're a little off, they'll complain. They are good at pointing fingers and finding faults, manipulating situations to harm others, igniting conflicts, staying on the sidelines without offering help, and pushing someone into trouble without lending a hand. They're like martial arts masters, using every trick in the book." She really spoke the truth, and the way she described it was very vivid. That's how these people are. Then she continued, "Plus, I'm young and not as experienced as the others, so it's no wonder they don't take me seriously. What's even more ridiculous is that Jia Rong's wife suddenly died, referring to Qin Keqing's death, and our dear brother Zhen kept kneeling in front of the mistress, begging for help. I tried to refuse several times, but the mistress wouldn't listen, so I had to comply. It caused a big mess and was quite embarrassing. Even now, brother Zhen's still full of complaints. When you see him tomorrow, try to smooth things over. Tell him I'm young and inexperienced, and it's not my fault that the matriarch trusted him." From what she's saying, it's obvious that Wang Xifeng, or Sister Feng, is really feeling herself. She's totally proud of how well she's running Ning Palace. And you just know that when her husband Jia Lian meets Jia Zhen the next day, Jia Zhen is gonna sing her praises non-stop, listing all her successes, right? So she's all humble about herself, but deep down, she's bursting with pride. That's what makes Wang Xifeng so interesting.